Right. Welcome everyone to the very first Carnage winning list review. I'm your host, E.T., joined here by Joe Senior, my partner in crime with Carnage. And this is like I said before, the very first of its kind in this format. Hopefully you'll see many more of these. But essentially we're just going to get our team members on every time they win an event or place top 10% at a super major. We're going to talk about the list. We're going to talk about their opponents. We'll talk about the path to victory, and hopefully give some really kind of useful tips on how to use these lists and
or how to play against these lists.
Or how to play against these lists. Exactly. Know your enemy. Know your enemy.
That's it.
So I'd like to introduce Chris Taylor. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the invite.
So Chris has just won the Ammonite Gaming GT over in Whitby. The land of fish and chips, I believe. Or Whitby Jet.
34 players, wasn't it? I think.
Was it 30? Yeah, 34 players. So a fantastic result for Team Carnage and
on
Chris.
His birthday weekend, may I add as well?
Oh, yeah, it was birthday weekend. There were a few drinks consumed.
Nice. Okay, so we'll just go straight into the list then, Chris. So I'll just pull that up on screen now for you. All right, over to you guys.
Do you want to run us through the list then, Chris? Let's see what we got.
Yeah, go on then. So I've had a few different iterations of this list. So the core of it's the same. It's 3 full squads of mega knobs because they're pure filth at the moment, as we all know.
Why is that, Chris? Why are they filth?
So they're filth because the Bully Boyz list lets me have 2 turns of the war, and during the war they get a 5-up invuln, they can advance and charge, they get +1 strength, and probably most importantly, they get a 4-up field out pain.
Save the best for last. Disgusting.
Yeah, so that's hilarious for me. And 2 squads of regular knobs. There's a war boss with every squad because it gives them +1 to hit. The war boss that's not in mega armor is hilarious as well because it randomly goes up to something like 9 attacks in the war. So he can kill stuff just on his own. There's some commandos because it's really important to sort of minimize your opponent's options in terms of move blocking, and if I get first turn, commandos can't be overwatched, they're coming at you. Similar to that, the super grots, because we've got Zodgrod Wartsnagger with a squad of, I couldn't say that fast, the squad of 20 grots. He gives them a whole bunch of stuff, right? So he gives them a scout move, he gives them an extra 6 inches of move in the war. He gives them +1 to hit and wound and -1 to be wounded.
These grots are on something.
They're hilarious. Yeah, so I mean, it's still only toughness 2, but they were. I took it for fun because they're obsec 2, and obviously most of the rest of my list hasn't got a lot of obsec, and they're a pain in the neck to get rid of, right? So you just 20 grots at somebody, especially in the war. Yeah, they take some getting rid of. So
that's something that you added to this list, isn't it? Because you had a couple of second place finishers with the Bully Boyz, and then you added these for this.
I added these and the flash gits because I lost essentially the final at the Hull GT to Rubric Marines, and realised that I didn't have enough stuff to clear screens. I mean, Orks aren't really renowned for their shooting, but not just to clear screens, to clear half decent screens.
Yeah.
So the flash gits profile, strength 6, AP 1, 2 damage, is really good at killing Marines.
Yep.
And I ran into 3 lots of Marines this weekend. So I took the flash kits partly for that, and partly because we were at the seaside, and who doesn't like Ork pirates? So, and I think I've accidentally stumbled on something quite good.
Yeah, they did very well for you, didn't they?
They really, really did. Yeah, and then just to round it off, just a couple of squads of 5-man Storm Boys, just to come and do actions and be places.
Yeah, and again, clear screens again.
I've seen the kind of argument between larger groups of mega knobs to the smaller groups of mega knobs. Can you speak to the smaller groups of mega knobs?
So So, well, for the mega nubs, I've gone one squad of 6 because they've got the teleport enhancement, so they don't have to worry about fitting in a truck. And then the others are squads of 5, so they fit in a truck with a mega boss. And then the nubs. So I've got 2 squads of 5 because I can fit a squad of 5 and 5 flash kits and a war boss in a truck. I think some players are using 10-man squads of nubs because there's a stratagem to do mortal wounds on the charge. So a big squad of 10 can be useful for that. I have tried it, but I found that the footprint for 10 nobs plus a boss was really tricky to hide.
And 5 hit very hard anyway.
Well, the war boss does half the damage, right? Because he's got 9 attacks. So he's almost 2.5 nobs on his own, right? So 5 nobs and a war boss I found was killing most things.
So why does the war boss get 9 attacks?
So he starts on 4, he gets +1 in the war, and then his special ability is +4 attacks in the war.
Excellent. So and is that not all the war bosses?
So that's the regular war boss. The war boss in mega armor gets +1 damage instead, so he goes up to 3 damage.
Okay.
So it's the only source of damage that's more than 2 in my army.
Yeah. Just for some context here, Joe, at Hull, didn't we witness a war boss in a group of nobs kill a 4-man unit of Thundercav by himself, a 6-man unit of Thundercav by himself before the rest
of that. Chris has did the same to me as well in this GT. So, which we're
a little bit sorry, right? You know.
I mean, it did rely on me failing a few 4-ups, but they can absolutely slap. The thing with the mega nobs as well is the problem with them is they're so durable, but it's hard to tie them up because they just hit hard as well. They don't have a massive amount of attacks. What is it, 3 each?
So if they've got the power claw, they have 3 each, 4 in the war. If they've got the kill saw, it's 2 each, and it goes up to 3 in the war.
So certain units in your army can tie them up, but it depends what you're playing because they do hit hard, don't they? So it's not like against Wraiths where you can just shove something into them and tie them up for a turn. And that's the problem I'm finding with the mega nobs. They don't really have stuff to tie them up because they just punch through it, and then you can't kill them either. So.
Yeah, stuck. Because most of my mega nobs are the really old models, so they're all modeled with power claws. So I've only got 4 kill saws, which are for killing vehicles. You really want kill saws, twin link kill saws that go to strength 13 in the war.
Yeah, twin linked as well, aren't they?
Twin linked, yeah. So they're crazy for pulling down vehicles. But I haven't got as many of those. But conversely, it means I've got more attacks, which are better at killing. Well, everything that isn't a vehicle.
And I think that's actually better. I mean, I think you want one unit for you when you've got to kill a vehicle or 2, don't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall the power claws are probably better.
So it's Old Faithful as far as orcs, right? That always used to be. What's your anti-tank? Those power claws.
Yeah.
So when you rock up to a table with this list, Chris, do you have a general kind of strategy for every encounter, or do you know that you'll do something slightly different versus a horde list to what you might like a knight's list, for example? Or do you just know you're going to get there and you're going to do this, and then that's either going to work or it's not?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you have to play the mission, play the army on against you, and to an extent play your opponent. If you some people you'll have more or less information about your opponent, as we'll come on to in a little while. Joe and I have played each other a lot recently with these lists. But I think ultimately at some point in the game the orcs are going to run at you and try and crump you. The commandos are a really big part of the list because there's so many armies that have got a lot of infiltrate. So like the new Kroot and stuff, if you haven't got infiltrate and if you can't put something down on the middle table sharpish, that table's going to be real full real fast. Yeah, so that's really helpful. If I win that roll off, or if you haven't got infiltrate, you're getting some commandos probably 9 inches from your deployment zone.
Yeah, if you haven't got infiltrate, you're in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I played a Votan chap, and obviously everything scouts. Well, not if you've got 10 commandos.
No,
then
they're
it's
not.
just, you know.
No, they're not scouting today, sir.
Yeah. So obviously I don't have a lot of shooting, so I still have to be, and I have to be quite careful about not getting my truck shot off the table before I get to take advantage of the extra movement. But yeah, I mean, largely I'm going to be staging behind some walls, and then when I feel the time's right, I'm going to run at you.
Yeah, which is usually turn 2 or 3, right?
Yeah, although it was very nearly turn 4 in our game, wasn't it?
It was. We'll get onto that in a minute. So shall we crack on and get into the first round then?
Yeah, let's do this.
So the first round.
So the first round was Adeptus Custodes, field host. And here's the list and the terrain layout that you're up against.
It's a bit of a meme list, really.
It was. And I played Josh a couple of times and had some really close games with him. Unfortunately for him, this wasn't one of them. He brought twin Ares gunship, the massive gunship things.
Which were like 600 points each, are they, or something like that?
Yeah, over 500 points each.
Yeah.
And which meant he couldn't even put them both in reserve. So one of them at least had to go in hover mode, but he actually put them both in hover mode. And I knew he didn't really have any upset in this list, so I think I was always going to steamroller him, and that is exactly what happened. We had a giggle, but it was it was a nice easy game one, I have to say.
Yes, that was 100 to 43, I believe.
Something like that.
I'm surprised he didn't actually put one in reserve, just so you could never hurt it, just for the laugh.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised, but like I said, I played Josh before. I had a really tight game. Necrons into his Custodes at one time, and where he really made me work. But this wasn't one of those times. So
no. Do they do shoot hard though? The gunships, right?
The what? Sorry.
They shoot hard, right?
Oh, they do. Yeah. The trucks didn't last long in this game. Let me tell you.
It would have been funny though if he'd have just started one in reserve and you could literally couldn't get to it for the whole game. You're just chucking grenades and shooting flash kits at it. And
yeah. Oh yeah, because they would have done nothing.
At least it had got to turn 5.
So you got a really big win on this first one there. What did you say, Joe? 98 to
it was 100 to 43.
100 to 43.
Yeah.
Okay, so a great start to the event. So this was just this Custodes list was obviously just kind of never built to beat.
No, it's not a competitive list. It's a bit of a silly list. He's brought 2 Ares gunships to have a laugh, right?
Yeah.
2 of the Whitby lads. One of them brought double Harridan, and Josh brought this double Ares thing. So they were there to have a bit of fun. And
me and Chris were laughing about the 2 lists before, and then round 1 I got paired into the double Harridan Tyranids list, and Chris got paired into the double Ares gunship list.
Brilliant. Fantastic.
Right, moving on then.
All right, move on to round 2. We got Sisters, Hallowed Martyrs, and on. I'll just load up the terrain here. So yeah, there's your list, and it was taken hold for the primary on this one.
Nice with Orks as well, right?
With the deployment that everyone calls janky corners, or stupid corners. So you're already very, very close to the Sisters.
Which was great for me, right? So so this was a really fun game, actually. I looked at the list and I was like, on the one hand, really relieved that it wasn't full of exorcists. But equally, still a pretty rude list, right? The castigators are spicy, 2 full squads of Arcor flagellants, and they do 60 attacks each. Yeah,
they're no joke, are they? Quite hard to chew through as well. Or did you find them hard to chew through with your Orks? I don't know.
Well, I didn't, because this was the first game that the flash kits started to do some work.
Oh, okay.
And they were quite good. And then, because they've got a fight on death thing as well, so I knew I was going to have to be careful with that.
So you were shooting them off.
So I was trying to shoot them. I was throwing grenades at them. I did a bomb squig into them. I was like, they've got to die.
Softened them up quite a bit before you sent something in.
Exactly that. And then
that makes sense.
I chose violence pretty early in this game, and just went for it. And turn 3, I'd killed, I think, all but one of the tanks in his corner, and he wasn't getting out. So,
that sounds
do you think it would have been harder on a different deployment, say Dawn of War?
Maybe. So the fact that we were quite close together was kind of helpful for me, but I think he deployed quite aggressively as well with the Arcor Flagellants.
Let's try hold you up, right?
Went, well, they're a massive threat. I'm going to deal with them, and I'm just going to do it now. So I pressed the big red button.
So this was a 95-56, so quite another good victory. High scoring game.
Yeah.
You'd only
Once I
dropped
got
5
into his
points
deployment zone and tagged all the tanks and gradually, just started pulling them to bits. He was in a bit of trouble. Despite the fact the miracle dice, can be quite reliable at making sure he kills key targets, or how many wounds has that truck got left? 4, right? There's a miracle dice.
Yeah, it's such a nice mechanic.
Yeah,
I know you've mentioned the Arcor Flagellants quite a bit, but I don't want to assume. What was the scariest thing about this list for you? Like when you got to the table, you're like, okay, that needs to go, or okay, that could be a problem.
Them and the Castigators, I think, were the two. Just because, perhaps not so much for the Meganobs, but the fact that they're 60 attacks, and they're twin linked, and if one of them's died, they get +1 to hit. There's just so many different little things that can be put on them to make them even better. If memory serves, they don't have any AP though, so they weren't the most threatening for the Meganobs, but certainly for the Nobs, for anything else that could get their hands on, they were just going to kill it.
Yeah. And looking at that list, actually, there's nothing to really threaten the Meganobs at all.
The Castigators.
Yeah.
Which was why they were the other priority, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. So then moving on, and this was round 3.
Hang on.
This was me and Chris.
Stormlands. So this was Joe and Chris playing each other. Brilliant. On corner to mid deployment, this one.
This was the 4th event in a row that me and Chris have been paired, by the way.
Yes.
The 4th event in a row.
If memory serves, the first one of those, you were on Demons and smashed me. And then we've played Orcs versus Space Wolves 3 times.
And I'm still yet to win.
And I have. Yeah, to be fair, I have won them all, but I only just won this one. It was by 2 points in the end.
Closer each time. I think this was 80-78 or something like that.
Something like that. This was my tightest game of the weekend. So there was, and it was really interesting because we played a bunch of times. So we both kind of know all the tricks that the other person's got up their sleeve. Yep. And so Joe tried to play this where I'm going to stay out your way until you kind of expend the wire and it's over and done with. Yeah. So I didn't call it straight away. I didn't call it till turn 3. And I was on a knife edge whether to hold out for turn 4 because I thought, well, I'm keeping Joe honest here.
Yeah. Because it was that cagey because I took the lead early on with the cards, really. The cards just fell in my favour, didn't they? So I took a bit of a little lead and I thought, if I just keep back and just play this cagey game. But Chris didn't bite.
What did you throw at the Wolfen?
Yeah, I just threw the Wolfen forward to screen a little bit. Some scouts and stuff like that, the vehicles. Kept all the cavalry right back. All the cavalry were sort of in my deployment zone, weren't they, till turn 4. Yeah. Was just trying to outlast his wag until all his Meganobs lost his feel no pain. Because the Thunder Cav with AP1 just punch through the Meganobs when they've got the feel no pain on, really.
Did you trade with the Wolfen at all? Could you get some fight on death going? Or
I mean, they got rid of some of the Storm Boy stuff and stuff like that. But his flash kits, to be honest, this is where Chris's flash kits came up again because they were just clearing my screens. So I think they were a really good addition to the to Chris's list. To be fair.
And these Chris, are these the pirates that you mentioned that you've got involved just pirates, because you were in Whitby?
Yes. Well, because I was at Whitby and because I'd had issues with Rubric Marines the weekend before. Yeah. And they were so good because of the profile, they were good into all Marines. They did work into, they were particularly good for Wolfen, who were 2 damage and I didn't want to be fighting. Yeah. And they did plink quite a few wounds off Joe's Thunderwolf cavalry.
Yeah.
So that was really helpful. But there were a couple of points in this game where things could have gone either way.
Oh yeah.
So there was I think it was turn 3 when I did eventually call the war. I tried a 4-inch charge and rolled a 3, and I CP re-rolled it into a 3. And I was like, don't worry, I've got another squad of knobs here. They need a 5. Oh, yeah, that's a 3 as well. So there was some swearing. And that cost me kill more.
Yeah.
And then what was most annoying was afterwards I realised what I could have done. There was an unfailable charge I could have made and just piled into there was like 2 squads with 1 wolfen left in each, and I could have just piled into the other one. So I was a bit annoyed with myself about that. Fortunately, Joe realised that there was, I've got a bit of a chance to sort of seize on this now. And I think the red mist descended a little bit. Then Joe sort of overcommitted and messed up getting, well, not messed up, messed up's a bit harsh.
Oh no, I did mess up. There was a much easier way of doing this. And I just, like you said, the red mist descended. I sent a big Thunderwolf cavalry squad down the middle, where the bottom L is, just above that.
Here?
Yeah, sort of, yeah, but the other way, from my deployment zone going towards Chris. Yeah, that's it. And he had a unit of Mega Knobs in one of the small L's in the middle. And he heroic intervened from there and tagged my Thunderwolves up. And it meant that I didn't get secure No Man's Land. I didn't get the kill more. And it also gave Chris the hold more going into his turn as well. So it was quite a big swing.
Right. So this was the heroic that swung the game.
Yeah.
Right.
And that swung the game back to Chris then. And then there was just not really any way of catching up because he'd just gone into the Warg that turn. So we had another full turn of the Warg. So I just couldn't get rid of his stuff. So yeah, that was the big swing. It was quality play from Chris, to be fair.
So that just shows
the heroic. I always miss the heroics.
It just shows how good these knobs are, because you can heroic and effectively lose a turn of attacks, but not have to worry about it. Like, they're not going anywhere, even against what was it, a 6-man Thunderwolf Cav unit.
Yeah, it was interesting because what I did was I tagged on the opposite end to where Joe wanted to be fighting, so he could only get a few attacks at the end where I just heroicked. Which let me kill. I think there were infiltrators or intercessors or something that were on the central objective, and it let me kill them.
You did it really perfectly, because it meant I had to split my attacks so that I just didn't kill anything.
Got you. Okay.
And then so then he went onto the objective in the middle as well with the heroic, which got him hold more. And stopped me getting secure No Man's Land and stuff, so it just flipped it back round. But yeah, it was a good game, 2 points in it.
It was still super tight. I think if Joe had drawn an objective he could complete turn 5, the win was his. So this was a real, I pulled this one out of the bag by the skin of my teeth.
Squeaky bum time, wasn't it? Yes. It really was.
Well, let's move on to round 4. So you're currently 3-0.
Yep.
At the moment. Round 4 was against Craig, wasn't it? Another Carnage member.
Was.
With Slaves to Darkness, Chaos, Space Marines. So here's the list. On Scorched Earth with corner to mid deployment again. Scorched Earth is a notoriously it can be a low scoring game, can it? As you start to kind of raise those objectives.
So you have to sort of raise one to get your primary up to max, don't you?
Yeah,
which can be difficult.
Yes. I can't remember what I scored on this. I don't think.
So this was 90 to Chris and 79 to Craig. So not quite as close, but pretty close. 11 points.
It was, and it was a hilarious game. I mean, it was funny because I'd loaned Craig a bunch of the tanks, so I was like, well, this is going to be embarrassing if I get beaten with my own tanks. And this was the game where the super grots came into their own. So I think turn 1 or 2, I drew capture enemy outpost, and I had so the medium L, sort of top left of your screen. I had some grots in there, and Craig had 2 tanks just above that big L.
Just there,
yeah, And so I sat and had a good think for kind of 5, maybe to even 10 minutes, working out, can I do capture here?
Mm-hmm.
And then ultimately I didn't go for capture. What I did was I yeeted the grots at the 2 tanks.
Yeah.
And tied them in combat for about 3 turns. Because Craig had a massive stack of 10 possessed behind the wall.
Just here.
And he was looking at it going, if I send these possessed out here, you're going to send them knobs and the mega knobs in and clobber them, aren't you? And I was like, absolutely right, I am. So it meant I left the grots just like carving their initials on the tanks for about 3 turns. I think Zodgon eventually killed one.
Right.
Grots was here.
Yeah. And
so eventually one of the tanks died.
Eventually, yeah. It was really, again, another cagey game because Craig was trying to do the same thing and wait until the war had worn off. And so I kept him back, and it essentially, I mean, once the war had ended, that 10-man squad of possessed picks up a squad of mega knobs.
Oh,
like
very
that,
easily.
Let me tell you.
Right.
I think out of the 5 lists you played, Craig's had the most damage potential to cut through your mega knobs, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that from the 2 times 5 possessed units mostly?
Well, he had a squad of 10.
Was it 10? Okay, right.
Yeah, and because
they've
got that strat. It only works on the undivided ones now, where they can reroll wounds, and they do mortals on a 6 if they've made a pact, so they could just fish for the mortals.
Oh,
yeah.
So once you've got no feel, no pain.
The dev wounds, right? Do they do dev wounds? Is it dev wounds? They just change the damage to dev wounds, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Wounds. So the damage 2 as well. So I think they just do 2 dev wounds, and as well, he has all the vehicles as well, which there's a lot of firepower there.
There was. So what had happened by the time he kind of the war had worn off and he was able to come out, I'd killed all the vehicles, I think, or just about. So he had the possessed left, and I'd essentially hit hard enough and done enough damage that I just had to hold on. He wasn't going to be able to catch me.
Yeah,
and that was the way it played out. It was quite funny because I think he said to me turn 2 or 3, there was a bit of a gambit in the middle with some warp talons, and he was like, "Right, let's see how good you are." I was like, "Right, it's on."
Oh, just to be clear,
as usual. So
you've taken tactical.
Still, pretty damn tight.
You've taken tactical for all 4 of these rounds so far, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is like the 3rd iteration of the list. So I took one to midweek masters where I'd taken 3 lots of storm boys instead of 2. I'd taken 2 lots of commandos. I'd taken more different squads of grots, and it was what I considered a more technical list. So it had more mission playing things. And then for the one at Hull, I took more knobs, more just brute crumping power. And I was really surprised that I was still maxing secondaries anyway. So yeah, I was slightly surprised with how easily this list gets the secondaries done. So I've just continued with that playstyle.
Yeah, so many.
And this was 90-79. This one.
90-79 to Chris. Yeah, so 4-0 going into the final round, and it was against the one man that you didn't want to play this weekend because Stephen had literally built this list for teams to counter Orks.
Yeah.
So how Chris has come away with a win is pretty phenomenal, really.
It was it was a really good game. I played Steve before, and he's a really, really good player. And I'd said, like, I think the day we got there in the pub, in fact on the Friday night, I was like, Steve's going to be the guy to beat this weekend. And then lo and behold, I ended up playing him in the final. I didn't know until we got to the final table that his list was deliberately built to counter Orks. I was like, well, that's taking the wind out of my sails a little bit. But the 3 full squads of Plague Marines with the fight first, I was like, that's a problem.
It's rough for Orks,
he's got the strap for -1 damage. He's got the contagion for -1 weapon skill. He's got the Nurglings for -1 to hit. So suddenly my, knobs and mega knobs are hitting on 5s.
Ooh,
that was really problematic. So we had a really good scrap in the bottom right-hand corner. I shot some the pirates at the Nurglings, and I threw a grenade at them, and I left one Nurgling base on a wound.
Oh,
and that's probably kept the Plague Marines alive for 2 turns.
Oh, well, the Plague Marines just right next to it.
Because of the -1 to hit, right?
It meant I was hitting them on 5s.
Wow.
Yeah, it's massive. It's absolutely huge.
It was quite funny because I moved some. I moved some guys around and I advanced something, and Steve was like, "You sure you want to do that?" And I was like, "Oh shit, what have I missed? What have I done?" And then it wasn't until afterwards when this damn Nurgling base survived on a wound. It was like, "Oh yeah, I was going to shoot with them." Don't.
What was it? What got you the win in this thing? Because I feel like it's really stacked against you. This just with the hitting on 5s thing. Did you just have to get rid of the Nurglings first? Was that
So he had one squad. I think he's probably refined the list after our game, because he had one squad of Nurglings that were in the bottom right-hand corner, and he literally done a donut with the Plague Marines. So he had three lots of Nurglings in the middle, surrounded by Plague Marines. So I couldn't get at them in melee.
Right.
Was this on the objective or just?
So they were on the objective with the Plague Marines.
Yeah. So just like that.
Yeah, and then his other squad were in a little line on the objective behind the big L.
Oh, just over here.
Just over there. So as far forward as he could get them, so that if you went anywhere near the wall, you were within 6 inches of the Nurglings.
Okay. Yeah.
So it meant I was able to take the sort of top left flank quite easily.
Yeah.
And then controlled that. And
so you sort of just sent your stuff away from the Nurglings because all you knew you just had to hold free, right?
Well, we had a right big scrap in the bottom right-hand corner, but once I'd killed the Plague Marines up in the top left, it made life a bit easier. So we had a big scrap in the bottom right, a big scrap in the little L near the big L in his deployment zone, and I cleared the left flank quite easily. And I also got quite lucky on 1 or 2 of the card draws. I think I drew no prisoners and assassinate the turn after I'd killed 10 Plague Marines and just left 2 individual characters.
Oh, okay.
Nice, perfect.
So it was like, oh, that was nicely timed.
They just love the cards sometimes.
Yeah.
Love them and hate them.
Yeah, and I think we worked it out by sort of bottom of turn 4. I think it was kind of, if I draw an objective, I can score next turn, I've won. I mean, we played it out, but it was...
So this was 89-79 to Chris in the end. So yeah, congratulations, Chris. Really hard fought. Like I say, you bet 4th placed, 5th placed, and 6th place on the way to victory. So it wasn't an easy run by any means.
If it was on strength of schedule, it'd have been Chris all the way, wouldn't it?
Yeah, 454 battle points. So 46 dropped over the 5 games, which is pretty good. Less than 10 a game in it on average.
Yeah,
and after the weekend, would you have changed anything about this list? Was there anything that you thought, take that out, put something in?
So the flash kits were so good. I have toyed with if I were not to continue with the super grots, I'd probably put 10 flash kits in on foot and in reserve.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that like a similar point?
Sorry.
Is that like similar points?
Yeah, so it's like because they're 80 points for 5. I mean, shooting wise, if they're shooting the nearest eligible target, they've got 4 shots each. Okay, they hit on 5s because they're orcs, but they have exploding 6s.
Yeah, so it's sort of you're hitting on 4s in a way.
Well, yeah, and I mean they are heavy, so if you can manage to stand them still, they're hitting on 4s. But they're also knobs, so they have 4 attacks each to start with, 5 in the wah. So for 80 points,
yeah, it's not bad, is it?
there are 4 up armor save, which is great for orcs, and 2 wounds each. So they're a bit of a steal.
Yeah, I'll be honest, mate. I think they was big reason why you won the game against me.
Totally.
Just because they cleared the Wolfen. Yeah. Just having stuff that can clear marine-style bodies in shooting when you're orcs is just massive, isn't it?
Completely. And I think it may be... So while I'm having loads of fun with Bully Boyz, I mean, orcs are my first army, my main army. I've got, many thousands of points of Orks. I think Green Tide is probably the strongest detachment at the moment. And
Right.
I don't think Bully Boyz can beat it normally because they haven't got enough attacks.
Yeah, that's fair.
Think maybe another full squad of flash kits gives you the option to, maybe actually polish off a squad or two of boys.
Yeah.
And that's a game changer. So
what you're thinking? You're going to stick with the Bully Boyz and just add some more flash kits in rather than go and give Green Tide a try, or you're going to give Green Tide a bit of a try?
So, I mean, I've got more than enough boys to do it, but I just don't think it's. It doesn't. So it feels a bit like the Wraith spam for Necrons.
Yeah.
That it's I stand here and I survive and I out obsec you, so I win on primary.
I also couldn't be asked moving that many boys.
Well, yeah, I think there's a bit of that. I'm not, I'm old now. I'm not sure my back will take me moving 120.
You need a little stick to push them around with.
So I don't know. I mean, I might give them a try at some point, but I think that's probably more for either a friendly game or for an RTT. I don't think I want 5 games of that. I think.
I've had discussions about this with my pals. Darren, who one of my pals, who is high on the leaderboard for Orks in the UK as well. We've talked about the fact that Green Tide is very good, yes, but are you going to get timed out on an event? And the answer is probably yes. If you're running it as pure Green Tide and you've got no movement trays or anything, you're gonna, especially if someone chest clocks you, you're probably going to spend most of your time thinking about moving stuff than you're about killing stuff. So
yeah, and you've got to roll all the dice for the attacks as well.
Yeah, as well. I know as a Votan player with a squad of 10 Terminators with the 1d6 grenade launchers on the back, I know how it feels to roll 80 dice for 3 wounds. So when you're at the bottom of turn 5, I'm like, oh, if I kill that, but I need to roll it out, and it takes you sort of 5-10 minutes to roll dice. It can be quite difficult. So yeah. Maybe in the competitive environment, your Bully Boyz are just going to take it.
Yeah,
I think so, and I think it's more fun because it's a more interactive game. I mean, I think with the Green Tide, you can literally go, I'm going to run up onto those 3 objectives. I'm going to sit there. Come at me.
Yeah.
The Mega Knobs are obnoxious, though. I will say they are. So
and I don't know what the answer is, right? Because I don't think they're obnoxious in any other list that doesn't WAR for 2 turns.
100%. It's just the Bully Boyz. It depends what you're running as well. Because if I was running like my demons and I had a bunch of pink horrors, I'm all right.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
you can tie them up, but yeah, it just depends, doesn't it? What Rock 40k is like rock paper scissors in it sometimes.
It is, and I think the only other option, and I've seen a few people running Bully Boyz, but with some boys, because they make objectives sticky, and they do give you a bunch of attacks into, other horde type armies. So I guess that's a consideration as well. But
yeah, especially if the meta does go more horde.
Yeah, and I think there's a possibility for that, right? With Kroot at the moment, with Green Tide.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%.
And the only admin lists I've seen doing anything have been horde.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that's about all we have time for. So, Chris, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for being our very first winning list guest. Hopefully this has been helpful for anyone watching. If you enjoyed what we've done today, please drop us a like and subscribe as well. It massively helps us out. Just like to plug our next event. So we've got an RTT coming up in Huddersfield on the 9th of June, and then a big GT at the Holmfirth Gaming Centre on the 6th of July. So you can get tickets for those via the link in the description of this video. We also have our 40k Flash t-shirts, where we have partnered with tattoo artists from up and down the country to create some fantastic designs, and they get paid per sale. So kind of very very ethical towards the suppliers of the artwork. So yeah, and thanks everyone so much for watching, and
thank you guys.
We'll catch you in the next one.
All right, take care.
Cheers, guys.